Earth, our beautiful blue planet, 4.54 billion years old. For the past 200 to 300,000 years, it has hosted our species. Our civilization has persisted for 6,000 years since the Sumerians. At least, we believe so. However, we do not explain what initiated the rapid development of Neolithic cave dwellers into builders of cities and civilizations, creators of structures like Göbekli Tepe, developers of religious beliefs, and their interest in astronomy and nature sciences. This is precisely why, in our journey into humanity's past, we will open a new perspective by filling the gaps left by science and history with theology and mythology. Welcome to the latest episode of Ancient Echoes. As we journey back to the Ice Age, we encounter a mysterious event in the stories of every civilization: the Flood. In Hebrew religions, it is Noah's flood. In ancient Maya civilization, it is the Hurricane flood. In Hawaiian tribes, it is the Nu'u flood. We also see references to a flood in the Epic of Gilgamesh from the Sumerians, as we notice similar plotlines in tribes across Europe, Asia, Africa, and even Australia. We have made it our mission to investigate the clarity of this event and what preceded it, and present our findings to you. Could there have been advanced human civilizations before the Holocene epoch, and even before the last Ice Age? Could we be a reflection of the civilizations of our ancestors which were erased by time? Let's explore this together. Before we begin, please support us by subscribing to our channel so we can continue creating more content like this. Before delving into the flood, let's take a look at the origins of humanity. For many years, anti-evolutionary groups have sought an alternative creation story. Some reject evolution because it conflicts with the story of Adam and Eve, while others propose that Adam and Eve are metaphors. However, beyond these views, there is a theory that, if proven true, could change our understanding of evolution: the ancient astronaut theory. According to this theory, humanity may have been artificially evolved or created by an advanced extraterrestrial civilization. These giant beings supposedly descended to Earth and transformed a simple primate species into Homo sapiens in a short period. They guided humanity until it reached a certain level of development and were seen as gods. It is believed that the gods of ancient mythology, such as Zeus, Odin, Ra, and Enki, were depictions of these beings. We will discuss the concept of giants in mythology later. They helped humanity to build structures such as Göbekli Tepe, pyramids, and so-called lost civilizations such as Atlantis. They taught humans various crafts, including metalworking, magic, ore production, tailoring, agriculture, animal husbandry, and even writing and speaking. This narrative, which bears a resemblance to the Anunnaki of Sumerian mythology, is often dismissed as a conspiracy theory. However, it aligns with certain ancient stories in human memory. Due to the limited written records, we cannot determine which of these narratives is older. But the most detailed account is found in the apocryphal Dead Sea Scrolls. So let's continue our journey into the Book of Enoch. For a long time, the oldest texts related to religious history and the creation of humanity were found in Israeli publications. This changed in 1946. A young shepherd from the Qumran region in the West Bank of Israel, while searching for his lost goat, began throwing stones into caves and heard a cracking sound. Driven by curiosity, the young shepherd followed the sound into one of the caves and found a repository of clay jars arranged side by side. Among the broken jar, he discovered inscriptions. The inscriptions were examined by experts, and the region soon attracted historians, archaeologists, geologists, and treasure hunters. The completed studies revealed that the inscriptions were placed in the cave around 68 AD and belonged to a closed Jewish community known as the Essenes, who lived in the area for 300 years. A total of 40,000 manuscript parchments were found, and 500 books were reconstructed. These are the books of a prophet who was taken to heaven, saw God and the angels, and wrote about them in detail. Enoch, the seventh prophet of the human race, the one who is rewarded with immortality. The fact that many prophets in Hebrew religions were shepherds, and that these inscriptions were discovered by a young shepherd, seems like a divine joke, right? The Book of Enoch consists of 5 main texts: the Book of Watchers, the Book of Parables, the Book of the Luminaries of Heaven or Astronomy, the Book of Dream and Vision, and the Epistle of Enoch. So who is this prophet Enoch, and why is he important to our story? In his book, he identifies himself as the seventh patriarch. patriarch, known in Christian and Jewish sources as Enoch or Hanok. He also appears in various religions and mythologies. In all these accounts, he is depicted as a figure who is advanced in science, knowledgeable in hidden secrets, a writer or scribe who conveys messages from the gods to humanity, immortal and capable of swift travel. In ancient Egypt, he was Thoth, a great sage who recorded all knowledge. It is believed that all knowledge spread to humanity from him. In Rome, as Mercury, or in ancient Greek mythology, as Hermes, he is a messenger of the gods and the sage who wrote the famous Emerald Tablets, which, according to Hermetic tradition, helped humanity progress after the flood. In Islam, Prophet Idris is described as the first person to study astronomy. The name Idris means one who is advanced in knowledge. The Book of Enoch begins with a warning about an impending apocalypse. One day in his youth, Enoch dreams of the heavens splitting and the earth being destroyed by water. Enoch anxiously told this vision to his father, Jared, who advised him to warn the generations to come, and said, "It is a warning from God and will undoubtedly come to pass." Years go by, Enoch grows up, and one day, angels appear before him and start his divine journey. These angels, depicted in the Book of Watchers, are omnipotent or alien-like beings sent by God to keep humans under control. Over time, these angels begin to find human women attractive. Samyaza, one of the leaders of the angels, leads 200 other angels astray, and they begin to have relations with human women. Children are born from these relationships, the NEPHILIM. In the Torah, the concept of the NEPHILIM, described as giants resulting from the union of heavenly beings and humans, appears in Genesis 6, 1-5. These beings are significant heroes, famous individuals, or leaders of their period, similar to figures like Perseus, Odysseus, Gilgamesh, and Rama in mythologies. In Hebrew, the term Nephilim means giants, but in symbolism, it might also refer to advanced beings. Indeed, the Book of Enoch speaks of spiritually giant beings. But what is this giant concept? All mythologies refer to beings bigger and stronger than humans, such as titans or giants. In ancient Egypt, gods were depicted as much larger than humans. Whether this was to separate gods from humans in terms of status, or if they were truly giant beings, we do not know. Greek mythology describes the gods of Olympus as stronger and more massive compared to humans, and also Sumerian and Hindu mythologies depict gods as giant beings. These narratives cannot be mere coincidences, right? These stories might have inspired each other, yet with the thought that there may be some truth, let's proceed. From a scientific perspective, interspecies fertile crossbreeding is impossible. So how is it possible for these beings, who are genetically dissimilar to humans, to have offspring with them? The answer is found in many mythologies and religions. For example, Genesis 1:26 said, "Let us make mankind in our image, in our likeness." Also in Greek mythology, Zeus takes different forms to be with human women. In Egyptian mythology, pharaohs are semi-divine beings who draw power from Egyptian gods, and in Mesopotamian mythology, gods playing roles in the creation of semi-divine beings, heroes like Gilgamesh and Ninshubur. These accounts describe gods creating or giving birth to humans in their own image. This might be an allegory for human consciousness being like that of gods. However, it is one of the fundamental supports of the ancient astronaut theory that is human cosmic deity genetic hybridization. Similar to this hypothesis, the Book of Enoch also describes angels creating animal hybrids and teaching forbidden knowledge, such as celestial sciences, magic, metalworking, weapon making, writing, and drawing. The book even details which angel taught witchcraft. For more detailed information, we recommend reading the entire book. As time progresses, the Nephilim race continues to increase and spread across the world. This lineage becomes corrupt and starts to oppress both humans and other living beings and nature. They deplete all natural resources and enslave people. Archangels Michael, Uriel, Raphael, and Gabriel are summoned to judge the fallen angels and their human followers. A war lasting hundreds of years begins between God's army and the fallen angels and their supporters. Similar texts about divine wars are also found in Sumerian and ancient Hindu mythologies. During this time, Enoch is repeatedly summoned before God and delivers messages to the people of the earth and the fallen angels. The vehicle the angels use to take him to heaven is described as a bright cloud emitting light, and when entered, its walls and floor are said to be made of transparent crystal. Enoch describes the vehicle rising to the heavens, passing through a wall of fire, and approaching the celestial palace. He uses terms like sword, dragon, flame, spark, and light to describe the celestial light in his writings. In the book, the ceiling of God's house is described with terms such as shining stars and flashing lightning. God informs Enoch about the upcoming flood. The descriptions in this account might indicate the use of advanced technology and electricity. Enoch's astronomy book is intriguing due to its detailed and accurate information for its time. He wrote that this astronomical knowledge was taught to him by the archangel Uriel during his years in the heavens. Similar elements related to the flying vehicles of the gods are noted in various other sources. The Quran and Hebrew Bible have similar verses. Ezekiel 1:4-9 describes flying vehicles and celestial beings. The sacred relic known as the Ark of the Covenant was also given to humanity by these beings. Considering that this ark is thought to have functioned like a radio or telephony to communicate with God and could kill anyone who touched it instantly, we might be led to believe it was an electrically powered, high-tech device. Additionally, the ritual of transporting the ark by placing it on a wooden bed might explain its electrical nature. Similarly, in Islam, there is mention of a light-emitting, flying being that the Prophet Muhammad rode to the heavens. We encounter similar elements in descriptions of the gods' flying vehicles in the Ramayana, the bright fire cloud that took Prophet Moses to the heavens, and the chariot with shining horses used by the Greek god Apollo. In nearly every mythology, there are sacred relics that bestow divine attributes upon their users. When we examine the Bible, we see that angels are depicted similarly to the multiform, multi-winged, and eye-covered beings described by Ezekiel. Could these angelic depictions refer to flying machines? The events described in these accounts appear to have occurred far earlier than known history. This might be why we have no concrete information in historical texts about the prophet's era. Just as with these flying vehicles and sacred relics, the fact that pyramids in Mexico are older than those in ancient Egypt, that a temple was built at Göbekli Tepe around 10,000 BCE, and the many underground cities with indeterminate histories support the hypotheses of ancient astronauts or Anunnaki. Enoch, who served God for 300 years, was rewarded with immortality, taken up in a vehicle, and permanently elevated to the heavens. With the end of Enoch's era, centuries of war ceased, and the fallen angels lost the battle. Their leaders, Samyaza and Azazel, were chained underground and condemned to stay there until the day of judgment. The age of the flood began. The section of the book describing Noah's birth, known as the Lamech inscriptions, was damaged to the point where the writings became unreadable. However, the readable parts contain interesting events. Lamech was assigned by God to be the second patriarch after Adam to restart humanity after the flood. When Noah was born, his appearance, which was angelic with white skin and completely white hair, terrified Lamech, who went to Enoch and said the child resembled not a human, but the children of angels. From this, we understand that the NEPHILIM and angels possessed Aryan features. Many mythologies and legends describe supreme beings with these characteristics. For instance, despite the different skin colors of African, Mesoamerican, and Middle Eastern peoples, the heroes and gods in their stories are always depicted as Aryan. Returning to our recent past, we once thought that human evolution continued in a single sequence until the discovery of Neanderthal fossils in the Shanidar Cave in 1957. We discovered that Neanderthals were a species with religious beliefs, buried their dead, and used tools. They had a complex societal structure that could not be our immediate evolutionary predecessor. We now know that at least 6 different human races shared common ancestors with us, and that their lineages have since disappeared. Could we, the survivors, be the children of Noah, who appeared angelic? During Noah's time, the flood occurred, and samples of all living beings on Earth were stored in pairs on Noah's Ark. After the flood, only a small number of survivors remained. The survivors rebuild civilization from scratch. In the accounts, this vehicle is described not as a ship, but as a chest. Perhaps it was a technology that carried genetic codes and revived life when the time came. Many epic tales, such as those of Utnapishtim, Atrahasis, Gilgamesh, the Mahabharata, and the Ramayana recount similar stories. Even in Zoroastrianism, one of the oldest known monotheistic religions, there are incredibly similar flood motifs and battles against giants and their evils, which are considered significant sources of inspiration for modern Hebrew religions. Just as the Sumerian creation epic describes gods initiating a war due to their conflicts and afterward leaving the world to humans before ascending to the heavens, or Hindu myths describe gods withdrawing from the world after long wars, these texts also suggest the end of the age of gods and the establishment of the current state of life on Earth, a world without the gods, mythical beings, and animals mentioned in these mythological works. If these beings truly existed, what were their purposes? Why did they strive to develop simpler life forms and then abandon them to become observers? Some spiritualists and esotericists suggest that these beings from different dimensions fed off human energy, drawing power from their sacrifices, worship, and wars. They claim that they created an artificial balance to keep humans at a pet-like level and managed us from behind the scenes. The stories of the Tower of Babel's destruction in Genesis 11, 5-9, the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah in Pompeii, the lost continent of Mu, and the lost civilization of Atlantis, as well as similar myths from African tribal tales, Polynesian islands, and even Native American mythologies make the topic more intriguing. The common thread in all these stories is the destruction of people attempting to become divine or challenge the gods, which these hypotheses use as a basis. Even in the Book of Enoch, there are mentions of people being declared sinful by God for just writing down information that comes from angels. Similarly, for a long time, the written transmission of knowledge and learning in Jewish society was frowned upon. From this point onward, around 5500 BCE, human civilization history begins in earnest. As we have discussed in previous videos, mainstream archaeology and anthropology do not fully understand the reasons for these civilization leaps. The sudden emergence of fire, the formation of Sumerian civilization, the transition to agriculture, the development of sewage systems, laws, organized armies, social caste systems, and writing remain unclear. This is why we fill these historical gaps with imagination and mythological narratives. So why have such texts not been preserved accurately until today? And why are we only now discovering them? Likely, it is due to conservatism. Just as in the Roman era, where pagans were slaughtered and all sources of pagan culture were destroyed, or the destruction of the Library of Alexandria and the burial of many temples and censorship of knowledge of the Old Kingdom during the rise of the new Egyptian Empire, each new revolution led to the discrediting and destruction of past knowledge until not a single copy remained. This destructive moral decay has prevented nearly 90% of written human history from reaching us intact. Written human history represents only about 1% of the time humans have existed on Earth. We know so little about ourselves, don't we? To avoid losing the seriousness of the topic, we have tried to discuss it as objectively as possible, avoiding potentially inconsistent and conspiracy theory-like stories or quickly passing over them. If you would like us to express personal views, we cannot say that we believe in these theories. However, the conclusion we draw from all these stories is, in some way, similar stories claim to have occurred in periods older than the anticipated timeline of human history has been repeated in various regions. Whether these stories are true or not is less important. Their existence in such ancient times proves that the social structure is much older than we thought. The increasing research into societies older than the Sumerians is bringing these topics to light. Despite being entirely rejected by mainstream archaeology, we recommend watching Graham Hancock's Netflix documentary, Ancient Apocalypse. Now, let's examine the scientific counterpart of the flood period and where it fits into the geological timeline of the Earth, if these described periods are real. The Younger Dryas is known as a cooling period that began approximately 12,800 years ago and lasted about 1,200 years. The name of this period is derived from Dryas octopetala, a young flowering plant species commonly found in the Northern Hemisphere. This time frame corresponds to the end of the Pleistocene epoch and the immediate precursor to the Holocene epoch. It overlaps with the final stages of the Upper Paleolithic in the archaeological timeline. So, what kind of changes did this period period bring to our world? The Younger Dryas occurred towards the end of the last ice age, abruptly interrupting a previous warming trend with sudden and significant cooling. Before this period, around 14,000 years ago, the global climate had begun to warm gradually. However, during the Younger Dryas, this warming was halted, leading to an abrupt cooling and a series of climatic and environmental changes. During the Younger Dryas, temperatures, especially in the northern hemisphere, dropped dramatically. In Central and Northern Europe and North America, temperatures fell by 5 to 10 degrees Celsius. This cooling led to the expansion of ice sheets, a drop in sea levels, and changes in vegetation. During this period, there was a significant shift in ocean currents in the North Atlantic. Specifically, the Atlantic Meridional Overturning Circulation, aka AMOC, weakened. This current was responsible for transporting warm tropical waters to the North Atlantic. The weakening of the AMOC caused cold seawater to accumulate in these regions, further cooling the atmosphere. During this period, the landmass known as Beringia, which was thought to have been used by early humans to migrate from Asia to North America, became submerged, forming what is now known as the Bering Strait. At the end of the period, sudden warming brought the Ice Age to an end, and sea levels rose rapidly, inundating coastal regions. There are various theories about the causes of the Younger Dryas. These include scenarios such as a massive asteroid impact, volcanic eruptions, or the sudden release of fresh water from large lakes into the seas. Additionally, sudden changes in the Earth's magnetic field, solar flares, and disruptions in the Earth's rotational speed are thought to have caused catastrophic storms that significantly altered the planet. In conclusion, the Younger Dryas period highlights the sudden and substantial impacts of climate change. Such periods may have inspired ancient myths about floods, submerged continents, volcanic eruptions, and similar disasters. When we overlay this geological period with mythological narratives, it becomes possible to consider the existence of civilizations from over 12,000 years ago that witnessed these events. Some scientists and popular science writers working in this field believe that people survived this climate crisis in underground cities. Today, there are many artificial cave systems and ancient underground cities around the world with unknown construction dates. As our knowledge about these structures increases, we believe we can unveil some of the mysteries surrounding the past. With this information in mind, we continue our journey southwest from Mount Ararat, where Noah's Ark is believed to have landed. Göbekli Tepe. Göbekli Tepe is an archaeological site located in Sanliurfa, Turkey, and dates back approximately 12,000 years. It is considered the oldest known temple complex and one of the largest structures from prehistoric times. The discovery of Göbekli Tepe has made a significant impact in the fields of history and archaeology. Göbekli Tepe was discovered in 1994 by archaeologist Klaus Schmidt. Initial excavations revealed that this area was once used as a major religious center. The structures of Göbekli Tepe are dated to the early Stone Age, a time before agriculture had begun. This challenges the perception of when religious societies were formed, the dates when agriculture began, and the beginnings of human cooperation. Some researchers, following the discovery of Göbekli Tepe, have proposed hypotheses that suggest early societies were brought together by religious beliefs, rather than religions being brought together by societies. The region where it is located is also known as the birthplace of Abraham, who is considered the ancestor of Abrahamic religions. Göbekli Tepe covers an area of approximately 22 hectares, which is about the size of 30 football fields, making it quite extensive. The site encompasses a large area of farmland and natural vegetation. The findings in the area suggest that agriculture and animal husbandry began much earlier than previously thought. To date, more than 20 circular structures have been excavated and documented. These structures vary in size and shape and may have been used for different purposes. The largest structures contain stone pillars approximately 20 meters in diameter and 6 meters high. One of the most striking features of Göbekli Tepe is its large T-shaped stone pillars. Some of these are about 5 to 6 meters high and weigh 10 tons. These stones are adorned with various animal figures, symbols, and even some abstract motifs. The carvings include depictions of predatory birds, steppe animals, and even some human figures. It is believed that these figures offer clues about the religious beliefs and rituals of the time. The carvings and symbols on the stone pillars display detailed and high-quality stone craftsmanship. Some researchers compare these T-shaped pillars and their surrounding circular chambers to the silent towers of Zoroastrianism, the oldest known monotheistic faith, while others argue that they may represent motifs from the Turkic Tengrism belief. Archaeologists note that the construction of Göbekli Tepe was a complex process. How these large stones were transported and placed is still not fully understood. However, these structures provide valuable insights into early human construction abilities. Göbekli Tepe is considered not only a historical, but also an archaeological revolution. Other ancient structures and findings in the region indicate that such buildings were widespread. The discovery of Göbekli Tepe has fundamentally changed our understanding of the Neolithic era. The evidence suggests that the people of this period were much more advanced than previously known, and the findings related to societal organization lead to confusion and debate. Göbekli Tepe continues to be a major point of interest for scientists studying prehistory and history enthusiasts. In 2012, Martin B. Sweatman and Dimitrios Tsikritsis made a fascinating claim. They proposed that the motifs on Pillar 56 and Pillar 43, also known as the Vulture Stone, were not just simple animal motifs, but star charts. They shared what they claimed to be the positions of stars from 13,000 years ago, suggesting that Göbekli Tepe is a monument to the extinction of early humanity. Their proposed dates align with the Younger Dryas period we discussed earlier. This claim, which supports the idea of a meteor impact or a similar cataclysm destroying civilization, has yet to be proven. In conclusion, only a portion of Göbekli Tepe has been excavated. More research and excavation are needed to determine the full extent and type of structures at the site. Future excavations may provide more information about the entire size and true purpose of this ancient complex. Considering recent events such as cooling in the Atlantic Ocean and unprecedented rapid changes in the Earth's magnetic field over the past decade, it is not unreasonable to hypothesize that humanity is within a climate change loop. Even without proven data, we must acknowledge that such research is quite intriguing. We will explore the effects of such disasters from the beginning of life to the present in different video series. To stay informed, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications. We hope you find this journey of examining human history from a different perspective, both entertaining and informative. What do you think? Could civilizations have existed before Göbekli Tepe, or even before the last ice age? Share in the comments. Thank you for watching, and we look forward to seeing you in the next episode.